You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Bold and Beautiful fans. It is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I have got another B&B Comings and Goings update for you. There are 3 more comebacks coming, plus 1 more huge guest star for the Fashion Showdown. I'm going to fill you in on all this, but if you haven't already, please reach down, click subscribe, so you don't miss any of our B&B casting news, spoilers, everything else. So next week on Bold and the Beautiful, we're going to see the start of an epic 5-episode event for this Fashion Showdown. It's going to run the 25th, 26th, 27th, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the following Monday and Tuesday, which should be the 30th and the 31st of October. And all but one of those episodes is part of the onslaught of November sweeps. And so there is a bunch of big stuff happening. So the info I have for you today is 3 Bold and the Beautiful stars who are back on the scene for the first time in months, and in some cases more than months. And then there's another guest star, a foreigner this time, who's jetting to LA to be part of the show. We've already told you there's 2 Y&R crossovers. There's Lauren Fenmore and there's Esther Valentine coming in from Genoa City. And then we've got Marie Osmond, who's going to be playing this German countess. And let me tell you, we have got a legacy family daughter comeback, someone we rarely see, but who it makes perfect sense for her to come back for this event because her dad is competing. And the other 2 are Forrester Creations employees who have been notably missing in action for quite a while. The first one we want to talk about is Diamond White is back as Paris Buckingham. We have not seen her since late June, I think June 21st to be specific. So it's been about 4 months. And if I recall, they basically popped her up into these filler sort of useless scenes at the Forrester Creations office while the core characters were over in Italy. We had some scenes of Eric sitting around the CEO table, and Paris was there and Zende was there. Maybe RJ, was he back then? It was just these filler fluff scenes that accomplished nothing other than having them back to tick a contractual obligation off for them. I feel like Paris or Zende both are getting almost no airtime, and it's very frustrating. So Paris is back. She will be on hand for the fashion challenge, and remember, she oversees the philanthropic activities of Forrester Creations. If you're a Diamond White fan, we should have her for at least 5 episodes while this is going on. Also back is Zende Forrester, played by Delon de Metz. He was also seen in late June on the same episode where we last saw Paris, those same filler fluff episodes. I've been just a little irritated, wondering why they brought in a recast RJ Forrester simply for this Eric legacy design story. It would have made much more sense to me for Eric to be working with Zende, who is family, also, who is an established designer, rather than forcing this Instagram influencer RJ to sketch for them. Literally, RJ has no training, no experience, no college education in design that I can see, and 0 interest in designing until he was basically guilted into helping Eric because Eric was having those hand tremors. I think this storyline would have been just as strong of a story for John McCook without us having to deal with hearing what a prodigy RJ is. Ridge even said, without seeing one scrap of RJ's work, that he thinks he's the most talented of all of them. Completely dismissing Thomas, who's killing it as the hope for the future lead designer, and dissing Zende, who's doing great work. And of course, you know, they called him the golden child, I think. It was insane. They're talking about him like he is some kind of design messiah. But, you know, he sprang from Brooke's loins, so it's no wonder that Brad Bell is writing this insanely over-flattering dialogue about RJ Forrester. I have nothing against the actor. I have nothing against the character. My issue is how many other cast members we have in the background who are not getting scene time because they brought somebody new in for no real point that I can see, because an existing character would have worked just as well. And the other Forrester designers have actual skills, training, and expertise, but, you know, they didn't pop out of Brooke, so, you know, not nearly as good. Speaking of people that sprang out of Brooke's loins, her daughter, Bridget Forrester, is the third character who is back in town for this design challenge. If you're a newer watcher or need a refresh, I'm happy to give it to you. Bridget is Brooke's daughter that she has with Eric Forrester, although there was some questions about paternity and I think some swap tests back in the day. Bridget was married to Deacon Sharp when Brooke began sleeping with him when he was her son-in-law, and that's when she got pregnant with Hope. We last saw Bridget, it's been over a year, it's been like 15 months because it was July of 2022. I expect that Bridget is on hand to see her father, Eric, unveil his latest and last line of couture gowns. But I also wonder if Brooke's going to say, oh, hey, Bridget, remember that guy you were married to that knocked me up while y'all were still married? Guess what? He's going to marry Sheila Carter, and I just thought you should know. I mean, that's a pretty awkward conversation to have, but I could totally see Brooke dropping that tidbit to her daughter. And I wonder if Bridget will drop in on her ex-husband with some things to say, or if she's just going to stick to the walls and halls of Forrester Creations during the fashion challenge. I am still hoping that Eric wins and crushes Ridge under his boot for belittling him and trying to shove him out of the company he founded. All right, and then we have one more guest star to talk about. So there's a French actress named Elsa Esnoult, and I hope I'm saying it right. She's been posting photos on her social media of her dressing room door at Bold. She flew to LA to tape the Showdown episode. She's got 3 episodes playing Fannie Grayson, who is a French singer who's a fan of Forrester designs and wants a dream dress of her own. What's interesting is that Fannie Grayson is the character that Elsa plays on a French soap series called Les Mystères de L'amour, aka The Mysteries of Love. I'm sure I mangled that French, so I'm sorry. I'll just go ahead and say I'm sorry. If I knew how to say I'm sorry in French, I would. If you didn't know, Bold and Beautiful in France is called Love, Glory, and Beauty. Just a fun factoid. And of course, I think in Italy, it's just called Beautiful. So it's always kind of interesting to see what our shows are called in other countries. And remember, John McCook was sick and he missed a good bit, if not all, of the Fashion Showdown shoot. And they had to do reshoots once he could get back on the set. He had COVID and he had to stay off set and he was, pretty sick. And then he came back and they had to do replacement scenes. So I'm very interested to watch every time I see Eric and see if they've done a cutaway with him. A cutaway, if you don't know the terminology, is where there's a camera on somebody who's talking, and instead of having the person they're talking to being in the same scene, they cut away and then you have a shot of the other person. So sometimes in dialogue, it'll be like somebody's face, then they cut completely to the other person's face and then back, which differs from side-by-side shots, which John McCook wasn't around to do. So we may get a lot of cutaways of him. I mean, they might have shot him on a green screen and slid him in. I'm very interested to see how this editing works and if we're going to notice that they put him into everything after the fact. So I'm excited. And of course, they were able to do reshoots with the core Bold and the Beautiful characters, but not the special guest stars and crossover stars that came in for it. So those are the 4 comings and goings cast additions that I want to tell you about. I think it would be great if we got to see Paris and Zende more regularly. And I definitely hope Bridget spends some time talking to her father. There is a spoiler for next week that says Donna opens up to someone she can trust about Eric's health condition. And I wonder if it might be his daughter, Bridget Forrester. I mean, I think it'd be very good for Bridget to hear all the things going on with him and the tremors and that he's spitting up blood because his doctor doesn't seem to have a diagnosis. Maybe his daughter doctor can come up with one. That'd be great. Hey, drop your comments on what you're excited to see and who you're excited to see in this fashion challenge. Please click subscribe if you haven't already and definitely drop a like if you enjoyed this update. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for talking soaps with me every single day. This has been Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.